Hello, how are you?
Yeah, very well. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah. You in a home office?
I am, yes.
Oh, yeah, you
Like
well
that.
set up there. Ah, very good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Day four, I wish. Week four of the lockdown. But I did set off today with a new regime where I was not going to sit in this room from 8:30 until 7 o'clock with just a couple of toilet breaks, even
Yeah,
even
my
if I
other
was
half and
lucky.
I have said exactly the same, and it's so
Mm,
easy just to spend all day at your laptop and barely take a break. So yeah, I
yeah,
think I'm going through that. You and I have known each other for quite a number of years now through the
ah,
Chambers Network. More recently, you invited me, gratefully, to the British Chamber of Commerce annual conference, which was fantastic to hear from local
yeah.
business. And the Secretary of State, Matt Hancock, was there speaking. So, and that was, I think, a week or two just before
Oh.
everything kicked off on lockdown. Although he was talking about it, I don't think we could ever envisage we'd be in this situation right now.
And he didn't envisage it, I don't think. I
No,
mean, it's
no,
amazing, really.
yeah. So you're Chief Executive of Surrey Chambers of Commerce.
Yeah.
Been there for a while now. Tell us a bit about the chambers and about the Surrey businesses and what the role of the chambers is.
Yeah, so I will admit I've been there 19 years, which is actually incredible to think. But I think the key thing about it is that it's sort of integral to the local community. The chamber is like the business arms, and the reason I've been there so long is that actually it's sort of varies depending on which businesses are getting involved, what's happening in the business community, and it feels we're very localized. We're very much at the heart of the business community, so we're not a faceless sort of national organization that brings business support or
Yeah,
helps businesses. We're actually the ones that are there on the ground, hearing what businesses need and
yeah,
then feeding those messages back to the national bodies. And I think that's probably the biggest thing about the chamber, is the fact that we are local, but it's also quite difficult to be local to the whole of Surrey.
yes, yes.
So whilst we have an office in Woking, I remember that office some time ago. Anyway, we have our office in Woking, but we are very much mobile, and we have different people that sort of spend more time in different parts of Surrey than others.
Yeah.
And we
How
try.
big is your team now?
So we are a team of 11.
11.
11, yeah. We've just
I'm
lost.
always amazed at how much you do with a team of that size. I mean, how active you guys are. It's impressive.
I think we're also lucky that the people that come to do events and marketing with us seem to be comfortable with going out early mornings and late evenings, and
Yeah.
they sort of join in, and they we rarely hear anything that says, oh, actually we're doing this too much, because I think they quite enjoy it, because those events, when we used to be allowed to go face to face, was
Many
actually,
moons ago now.
it was actually quite enjoyable. And I think it particularly, we always have an intern that's with us, from one of the universities, and for them it's a fantastic learning opportunity. And then we've got an apprentice at the moment, so again it's brilliant for her to sort of experience things that if you were in a much bigger company, you probably wouldn't be organising a networking breakfast and standing up at the beginning and welcoming everyone.
Yeah.
But
And meeting so many various people in industry and in business. Tell us about what makes up the Surrey businesses that you see. I mean, who are the members
yeah.
of the chambers?
Yes, so when I first came to the chamber, I would say that it seemed that most of the not most of the members, but a big chunk of the members were professional services, so accountants,
Yeah.
solicitors, financial planners. And whilst they are still, significant groups of members, what we have nowadays is a really fantastic sort of, you know, collection of all the different sectors. We always find it quite difficult to list the sectors that are members, because, quite frankly, all sectors are represented.
Yeah.
And one of the big sectors, which again we seem to be doing more on nowadays, is the manufacturing sector, because they are the ones that use us for their export documentation. So we learn a massive amount about what's going on in international markets, you know, what's going on in the manufacturing sector, which again in itself is a lot of different sectors. So we are like a little, almost an ecosystem and a microcosm of business, you know, nationally.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah. So tell me about sort of your role within the chambers. I mean, I'm assuming sort of working from home, you must be pretty mobile and sort of agile. So is this normal for you, and how does this match your role? Is this challenging, or how are you managing it?
I usually have lots of meetings, and I seem to spend, you know, a fair amount of time in my car driving across to, certainly we do lots of things with Hampshire through the local enterprise partnership. So half the meetings are in Hampshire, and then again meetings with the Coast Capital local enterprise partnership, which is over in Sussex, or towards Sussex.
Yeah.
So all of those meetings have disappeared, but I think we've all got quite used to this whole Zoom business. So I suspect that a lot of that travelling, we may well do things differently in the future. Although it is really nice for some meetings to be face to face, there are others where actually, if you just got people up on the screen, you know, it's almost as good, and also we're saving the planet a little bit.
Absolutely, it can be, and it does help us feel a bit more connected in these very strange times.
Very weird.
And I know for me, it's helping me stay in touch with my teams. Are you reaching sort of the members as well through video conferencing? I mean, how?
Yeah. We've done a couple of things we call Chamber Solutions, which is Q&A on what business support is available to businesses. So this is obviously evolving. So the first week was absolutely, you know, loads and loads of people signed up. Questions were wide and varied because a lot of the sort of coverage hadn't been, all the detail about the support hadn't been released. And as that comes out, you know, people are now coming up with very specific questions. So I have somebody who's in isolation and I want to furlough them. Does that work with the furlough scheme? You know, very, very specific. So we're running them every Thursday, 1 till 2, and people are welcome to just sign up, find out, you know, what other people are asking, because I think that's quite important. Sometimes you don't know what you should be asking.
Absolutely, yeah. And hearing somebody else's challenge could be heading for you sort of a few weeks down the line. So sometimes it's good to be aware of what could your business in you know, in the times coming up.
Yeah.
So you're seeing questions change as these weeks progress then?
Yes, I think we're still getting the people that are falling between the different areas of support. So if you started up a business within the last 12 months, there's very little available for you. However, that's somewhere where the Chamber can at least, you know, point you in the direction of startup support that's available anyway. That isn't money, that's more about advice and, you know, pointing in the direction.
Yeah, and mentorship and that kind of thing, and the advice and support that people really need.
There's also a whole group that are in serviced offices, and because they're in a serviced office and they don't pay directly for their rates, they do pay the rates because they pay them as part of their rental charge, but because they're not signed up with the local authority, they don't come up in the you know, allowance for grants. And so, you know, there are quite a lot of businesses there whose business just fallen off a cliff. As I keep saying to people, that cliff has got an awful lot of stuff over it. So many things have fallen over the cliff. So they don't get the grant that a lot of other businesses are getting. And then I don't know if you sort of think, I know it's only a few weeks ago, but when it all kicked off, there was the whole thing about hospitality, you know, restaurants. But of course, it's just so much bigger because all of those closing and, you know, being told eventually to close, has
Absolutely.
the knock-on effect to all the service providers that were working with them, to, you know, just, it's just phenomenal how that has actually eventually switched out to the whole
Yeah, I think the domino effect that this is having, I think we're only seeing really the beginning of it. And I think, you know, we're seeing some incredible things where businesses are managing to pivot and change, and they're offering services in different ways. But absolutely, there are those people and businesses that just can't do that. Their business isn't that way. It's not made up that way.
Yes.
So yeah, I think there are some really, really tough times ahead, going through them already. So yeah.
I think that the thing
all of those in Surrey, don't we? We've got a mix of all those events and hospitality businesses. That's kind of what makes Surrey so great. The mix of business and industry we have here.
Well, tourism in itself is a massive part of the economy, and you know, we all want all of the different. We want the entertainment, we want the restaurants and the places to go and all the rest of it. So yeah, that's what I was saying about an ecosystem. You know, we've got everything, almost like a little tiny country with, and always has been a very vibrant economy. That's so maybe we're feeling it even stronger because we have always been such a vibrant economy. For it all to suddenly come to a shuddering halt is a much bigger sort of shock than perhaps areas where business hasn't been as vibrant.
Yeah, I think people are feeling the loss in different ways, but it's definitely noticeable amongst my networks, absolutely. So I'm guessing that you and your members, your team in the Chambers are having to think about your working patterns and how you stay connected. You know, what are the challenges for you in the Chambers as a business? You know, how are you managing to keep going?
Well,
now is that home office.
We've been, I think the very first week that anybody started to work from home, I gave people the choice, and 3 of them said, actually, I'd like to work from home. I think, you know, at the beginning, I think people were more anxious about what they might get, and, you know, that really at the start. Then the next week, I think it was encouraged that everybody should work from home. So from that week, which makes this week 4, everybody went from home. And to be honest, the transition from working in the office and working at home, sort of technologically, and being able, because we actually stamp documents as well for the international trade, and all of that, because we'd sort of prepared ourselves in advance, but we were able to transfer it all to people's homes. So we've got 2 guys who, you know, living in their families' homes that are receiving the documents. Some of it is done electronically, which is obviously easy, but some of it is they have to actually stamp it and sign it and then toddle off to the post box and send it out. So we made sure they all had stamps, so that, you know, as in postal stamps, so those can be sent. And actually they have been as busy as ever on the international trade documentation. But all of the things, you know, the newsletters that we send out, everything is fine. But it's that difference between sitting in an office and somebody mentioning something and somebody else saying, oh, I was talking to them, they'd love to get involved if we do a cybersecurity event or blah, blah, blah. You know, there's none of that sort of accidental interaction.
Absolutely, yeah. I think a lot of businesses I've been speaking to have found the same. And you can't necessarily replicate that through video chats. With groups, that doesn't always just come out. Having sort of office space where you can have that interaction, it happens almost by accident. Yeah, it's very difficult to replicate that, absolutely. So how are you managing sort of to keep in touch with friends and family? I think when we spoke before, you had sort of was it a graduation with your daughter online, was that?
Yes, so actually she had come home because just at the beginning of the lockdown, she had just finished working in a hospital because she was right at the end of her medical degree, and she was literally about to go off to South America for 3 months to do an elective and work in a makeshift hospital in Peru and another one somewhere else in South America. But that, of course, was all cancelled. So she did come home, which was lucky for us. I think it was just after Mother's Day and just before my birthday. So that was nice.
Just at the right time then.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then then Matt Hancock actually announced that they were going to be graduating medical students early so they could join the front line. That was the first Hannah knew that that's what was happening.
The announcement when
yeah.
Okay.
So she then I think the next day they were told by the medical school in Bristol that they would be graduating on the 3rd of April, and then probably a week after that they would be dispatched out to hospitals. So she came home. We did the graduation on Zoom with 250 other medical students, and they had makeshift mortarboards. I think she made hers out of a black bin bag.
Fantastic.
A lot of them were wearing dressing gowns because they didn't have proper gowns. And they all just made such a good, they just made the most of it. It was really lovely.
Yeah.
And all their names were read out, and we all cheered and clapped, and they were told, that these have graduated. And then, but it doesn't stop there. Then you've got to be all signed up to the British Medical Council, so all the paperwork has to be in place. And she actually went back to Bristol yesterday. So, and she's waiting for her instructions. So she
can only imagine how you feel about that as a mother.
Yeah, I'm sort of trying not even to think about it, but I'm also obviously incredibly proud, and also she is keen to just be, supporting and helping and getting on with it, really.
Well, yeah. Thank you to her and to all the other amazing people in the NHS and what they're doing at the moment. I think we're just all in awe of what they're doing and the pressure they're under at the moment.
Yeah.
In terms of business within Surrey, there are lots of people like myself. We're very well connected with other business leaders and organisations and the community in general. And there are many businesses out there doing some amazing things. I hear of lots of charitable work and sort of people with frontline staff. What can we be doing? You must hear all the stories. What do you think we can be doing to support either businesses or in the retail sector? What can we do to really help industry at the moment, do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a few things in terms of making or finding PPE, protective equipment, personal protective equipment. There's been loads of great stories of colleges that have gone into their labs, into the cupboards, and have found big boxes of face masks and goggles and all sorts of things. And some of our members are actually making equipment or bits of equipment that are being used, and that the only trouble with that is obviously it has to go through for obvious reasons, a proper purchasing exercise. So and nobody's set up, it's not something that they make in the downtime. They're probably doing it for the first time, so they've got to have proper quality control and that kind of thing. But any that can do
that. Are they finding they can get to market well in these conditions, or are there issues that they're coming up against?
Well, I think that the problem is a lot of people have volunteered to make things.
Oh, right.
But because there've been so many, I think the government has struggled really to, sift through all the offers, because everybody wants to help. Yeah. So we had 6 when they were looking at, I think it was obviously the ventilators that they were initially looking to source. And I think 5 or 6 of our members actually filled in all the forms and said, we're prepared to look at this and do this. And I don't think any of them heard anything, because, of course, eventually it was big companies that would, because you would need that to get the volume. It is understandable, but it's also quite frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and I think, you know, for us, we just keep trying to get the message out that says it's not done. You know, there is still opportunity to sort of say you can make these things. I mean, that seems to be the main topic on all of the news bulletins, and, you know, when they speak at 5 o'clock every day, the questions are all around PPE. And as you quite rightly said just now, with my daughter on her way out there, I've now suddenly got, that's really top of my list. No, it is such an important.
I wouldn't blame you. And I think, you know, personally, all of us know somebody who's affected by this, who is frontline in some way, whether that's as a delivery driver, postman, women, NHS workers, people working behind shop counters. You know, so many people potentially exposed, and those frontline people need this equipment to keep them protected. So hopefully, it would be great that, you know, next time we speak in a couple of weeks' time, that some of those barriers have shifted and they can market and help.
There's another one, if people just feel that, you know, like, I mean, I'm working full time, so it's quite difficult to imagine, you know, being able to go and do very much volunteer wise, but you can contribute financially. So Surrey Drive, I don't know if you're aware of the Surrey Drive project.
I've heard of this, yes.
Which is a full group of businesses that are all in the hospitality industry, and they've been sort of rallied round together by a guy called Steve Page, who runs the membership sort of organisation for those businesses. And we were just starting to do some work with him, sort of to combine the memberships together. But he's pulled those together, and a lot of them are making food for the NHS workers, so that when they come out, they can pick up a pot of something. I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of the photographs, but somebody's making cookies and things as well. So they get a nice something to heat up in the oven, plus something naughty to have afterwards. And I think each meal is the cost of a cup of coffee. So people can contribute, you know, a relatively small amount and actually help that, because they've still got to pay for the food. But I think people are doing it at sort of cost price. So
I mean, it's tricky, I think, because like you say, you know, I'm also working full time, and if anything, working longer hours than ever working from home. And you do want to help, and you can't go out and help. You know what I said, be volunteering right now. So, you know, supporting those organisations and those, say, these pop-up charitable drives, Surrey Drive, for example, and if you can help a small way by, you know, so they're looking for donations, you know, in terms of money, then absolutely it's great to know they're there, and just talk about them as much as possible so people are aware of them as well. So working from home for you, this is new, something you've done quite a lot of?
Well, to me, a day working from home in a normal week is a luxury. So one day, just close the door, get onto my computer and get on with something, because when I'm in the office, it's quite distracting. And I'm also not very good. If I hear something and I can add to it, I will add to it. So a day at home is actually, you know, luxury.
For everybody.
5 days at home, or maybe 7, but anyway, but being at home every day without that interaction is actually, I find it actually much more intense.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
You know, there's no wandering across the office and, just have a little chat about the newsletter. Shall we have a look at this? Or have you seen that page on the website? Or, you know, and you just sort of wander around and then maybe go down to the kitchen and there's just, and the photocopier, go to the photocopier and printer. But when you're at home, it's all too close. I have got a little printer here, but I can just reach it. I don't have to get up and go to it. I've also got a very wonderful addition at home, which is called a butler.
A butler?
My husband, who is a driving instructor. So of course his business, he can't do that at home, and it went straight over that cliff. So he is here, but and it's wonderful because he cooks all my meals. Tea and coffee appears at my right elbow, but the trouble is I don't get up.
Yeah.
So I'm just constantly thinking, oh, I'll go and make a cup of, there it is.
There it is.
And there it is. And it is lovely.
Service.
And also, he happens to be a really excellent chef, well, cook. We call him a chef. And so because he's got more time on his hands, you know, they're even more wonderful meals.
Yeah.
I've put on 4 pounds.
We already worry about sort of, are we exercising or eating more? I'm not quite sure. I'm doing all of it. I'm doing both. So,
Yes.
And how do you get ready for the day? Do you have, say, a working from home style? Do you have your own setup? You know, do you have to get used to that mindset, or are you kind of always on and ready anyway?
Well, do you know, I do exactly the same as I do when I go into the office, which is I get up at 6:20. I go for a 45-minute walk.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but one of my friends also goes for a walk. She used to join me a couple of times a week, but because she's now at home permanently, so she also walks at the same time on the other side of the road.
Okay, I think we're allowed to do that.
We both walk and chat. She lives on her own, so it's actually really nice because, you know, she gets to have a chat every morning. Yeah. So by the time I get home, have a shower, have something to eat, come in here try not to come in here too early because to start work, because it's so tempting to, but because I live quite near to the office anyway, I've never had that horrible long commute. So I haven't saved a massive amount of time like a lot of people have.
Yeah. So, and you're finding that the routine, you know, sticking to some of those have really helped you just to keep in that healthy mind space.
Yeah, I think I start the day. Yeah, I start the day really well, and it's sort of organised, and I've got, you know, all the phone. I didn't mention earlier, but we have team calls at 9:30 just to pep everybody up for the day, and then at 4:30 to look back on how the day's gone, and they're quite again, that's quite intense to have, you know, 10 people all meeting on a call and, you know, sort of coming along with positive stuff and encouraging everybody to contribute, because we never used to do that in the office. You know, it would get to the end of the day and people would say, well, bye, see you tomorrow.
Yeah,
it really would have evolved.
Yeah, it really has changed the way we're communicating, isn't it? And saying sort of the team, sort of you're getting together at 9:30 every morning and sharing some of the positive stories. You know, are there any stories or you know, good news that you'd like to share, or maybe any sort of, you know, kindness has been a big thing recently, you know, or any maybe thanks to people you've seen doing some amazing things out there. Have you got anything you'd like to share?
Well, probably on a small basis really, but last week, actually it was the week before, I realised that I was going to have to look at furloughing staff. And I just felt like I'd failed, that I had to, you know, that we didn't have enough in the bank to keep everybody going. And it sort of really personally upset me. But I did all the right things, you know, talking to everyone, saying, look, this is something we need to consider, etc., etc. And one of the team rang me and said, I just wanted to tell you that I know that the sensible business thing is to furlough people. And I know that you're worried because this is somebody who lives on their own and, you know, quite young. And I felt that there's that mental health issue about people just feeling like, well, what do I do? And that person sort of said to me, but I just want you to know that it's absolutely fine. And, you know, I love what I do, and I'll come back and keep on doing it. But I don't want, because they obviously could see that I was upset about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
That was,
I mean,
sort of,
wherever you sit in the business, and I've spoken to a few people and had these chats now, and there are some incredibly tough conversations happening out there. And whichever side you sit on, it's difficult, really difficult times. Some awful decisions being made. Whether those decisions have been made or could be made still in the future, people are worried. It's just very, very difficult times, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is difficult. And then, you know, just I suppose I'm I am somebody who thinks a lot about people's situation. I mean, I think if you're in a small business, I'd like to think everybody's like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just you come to work 9 till 5. Well, we don't because of breakfast and things, but you know, you come to work 9 to 5 and then off you go. You know, it's so important that you understand that how people work and what's good for them. And I think it will give a lot of people a lot of insight into why flexible working could actually become much more popular going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think
it's easier.
Yeah, it's not about easier, but it's definitely shown what we are all capable of doing. You know, flexible we can all be, men and women. You know, I've got many friends who are working at home now, full-time teachers because their kids are at home with them, and mum and dads alike are having to muck in and find new timetables and ways of working, and sort of the day has been split as well, so the working hours aren't necessarily the regular working hours, so things are changing for everybody. So
and another lovely thing, which I'll never forget this birthday. So I had a birthday in the midst of it.
Happy birthday.
2nd of April, so everybody was sort of, you know, hunkered down, and the one daughter who'd come home from being, you know, come back from the hospital, and then my other daughter just lives down the road, and between them they had got loads of people to do little videos for my birthday. And I mean, it is funny because these are people that would have probably put happy birthday on my Facebook, and you know, I may have seen them in a few weeks time and they'd have said, oh, I hope you had a great birthday. But this birthday they did these little videos, and it was just so moving. It was just so lovely that they'd all taken the trouble, you know. And of course my daughters were both delighted that they were able to do something, and they even got, it wasn't actually him doing it live, but my dad is 94 and he's in a he's got his own flat within a warden
assisted living.
Assisted living. And so I can't go and see him. I go and see him through the window, wave through the window. But because I'd got him to video happy birthday to one of my daughters in February, they found that, and even that was put on there. So I was going, how did you get in to see Dad?
It's those little touches, the things that people are managing to do, and the creativity, I think it's just really inspiring. There's some, as hard as it is, there are so many people wanting to share really, really good, happy news as well. I'm loving too. So thank you for that. What do you do to relax then? So, you know, obviously you're very, very close to your family. You've got a husband that's an amazing cook. So how about you? What do you do to relax after your busy days and speaking to all the chamber members?
So yoga is another thing I like to do. I usually go to hot yoga, but that's all closed now.
It is.
So we've been doing yoga online. So my 2 daughters, one of their boyfriends, and myself are all in different rooms, or not in the same house, different places. And we all sign into this yoga, and then we have the teacher, you know, on the screen. And then at the beginning and the end, you know, like it's a Zoom call. So there we see each other in our little yoga havens. So I think yoga for me is something I'd like to do it more, and I have said I'm going to do it more this week, because I used to go twice a week, and somehow that I seem to fit that in. So why am I not doing that, you know, so much now? But I want to try and do a little bit of yoga every evening at the end of the day.
Again, I think it's incredible that people have been able to deliver, say, yoga classes and classes online. I'm a little bit like you. I had really great intentions and found lots of things that I'd like to do, start my yoga again. And week 4 is it? I still haven't managed to do it. So I'm a bit like you. I think we should commit to each other that we've got to start our yoga and get back into a routine again. So that's lovely. So you'll be tonight then, online doing your yoga class.
5 o'clock. I've got to.
We know where you'll be. Oh, thank you ever so much for talking with me today, Louise. If anybody needs support or wants to get in touch with you or the chambers, what should they do? Where should they look?
they should either look on our website, which is www.surrey-chambers.co.uk, or just, I mean, the phone is a wonderful thing when we're all out and about. You know, it's very easy to have a phone call. So 01483 735 540, and that is a number that all of us can pick up from our phones. Wherever, you know, we've got it transferred.
So the whole team will pick that up.
The whole team can pick it up, and depending on, you know, what the person is asking, they will put, you know, whoever gets it will put it through to the right person.
Yeah.
But
I must say that I've spoken with your team since we've been on lockdown, and you know, the support is great. You know, I work in the local Surrey community, and just having sort of make the effort just to touch base, see how we're all doing, and actually I've been connected with other people to help and support and kind of mentor each other. It's just the extra things that you as Chambers do for us, and so, you know, from me, thank you to you and everything you do. It's superb. So thank you, Louise, and thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you.